Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching our Testalens. My name is Amila, and today we are bringing to you one of Uganda's prominent city lawyers. He's known by the name Joshua Okello, and today we want to have a brief interaction with him. And of course, today we want to talk about assault and violence. I don't want to go deep in detail. I want to bring him on board so he can introduce himself. We kickstart with the topic of the day. You're most welcome, Mr. Patrick.
Thank you. Well, listeners outside there, those are my names she mentioned. I'm called Joshua Okello. I usually act as the voice of the voiceless. I act as the trumpet of those whose rights have been infringed. I also act as a Ugandan watchman. That is how people know me nationwide. So by the time we sit here, it means that I'm doing a lot for the community. It means that I'm doing a lot for the entire country. Because usually there is always a saying that when the voiceless are always oppressed, the best is to have a voice that speaks on their behalf. And that's why I'm here. So at this juncture, we are basically going to talk about what she has just said. She said that all topic is about violence. And I'm very sure that so many people outside there don't understand the implications of this. A majority are ignorant of the law. A majority have been fought. So we need to understand this lecture that we're going to have. So as we speak right now, you said you wanted me to explain about violence?
Yeah, briefly, maybe you can give us the meaning of violence according to the law.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. So basically, the chronology of the history of violence started some time back, especially when it comes to the law. It was actually created at the time when we were being colonized by the British. Remember, in Uganda, we used what we call the common law. The common law was originally adapted from the British system. So in Uganda, there are so many laws that talk about violence. But basically, I would first love to explain the meaning of violence in general. So violence is actually the intentional cause of harm against someone, and that harm results into death. Into death, maybe against a particular person or a group of people. So in short, that's what we can talk about violence. And also, on the other hand, there are always punishments for people who create violence, because there is what we call also threatening violence. Threatening violence is actually when, for example, when I mention words that provoke you, I can say maybe you, if you come today to my place, I will make sure that I hit you with a hammer. I can hit you with a stick. So mentioning that even when someone has not caused that directly to you is termed as threatening violence. It's like an action.
So where does assault come in?
Then also, when you talk about assault basically comes in, or it is defined in the way that, for example, I like giving examples so that the lay people understand this very well. Like right now, if I slap you, by virtue of me slapping you, means that an assault has been created. You understand? Yeah. So an assault is an act of someone creating a harm to a particular person. You understand? Yeah. So if I punch you or slap you, it means that is an assault that has been created already. However, on the other side, violence is a general term. You get the point? So that is a difference in between the two. Yes.
So what forms of violence are there?
In the assault?
Yeah.
Okay, just as I said that violence is a general term that defines everything. Now, in violence, you find there's an assault that actually comes under the umbrella of violence. Now, like the assault, for example, if I assault you right now, it means that what I've done is illegal by law. So you are at liberty to take legal action against me. But also, on the other hand, there are always situations that confuse people. You know, in law, we have what is called there's criminal law and civil law. So in criminal law, you find there's the criminal procedure rules. Then in civil law, there's what we call the civil procedure rules. So when you look at the criteria, you find that all these two different methods have different routes of taking actions. When you go to the criminal law, you find that the girlfriend of the court, the boyfriend of the court is an accused person, not the state. That is in criminal law. That's why if you find a situation where I've assaulted you, the first thing that you have to do, and I know you are going to ask me that question, if I assault you, the first thing that you have to do is to go to police. When you go to police, you write your statement there. You narrate to the police the gist of the matter. You explain to them what happened to you. You can say, yesterday as I was seated, let me give an example, maybe Pamba, I was seated with Mr. Joshua Okello. So as we're interacting, the conversation was so sweet to the extent that we're even laughing. But then unfortunately, Mr. Joshua changed his mood, and from nowhere he picked a chair and stoned me with that chair. So that's like what you explain to the police. And as a result of stoning me with a chair, I got an injury. And as you look at me right now, one of my teeth is, my tooth is broken. It is off, and I want you, the police, to take legal action towards that.
So how is that kind of a case filed? Is it assault or violence?
That is an assault that comes under violence. First of all, you violated my rights. You get the point. And violating my rights meant that you assaulted me. Like I went against your rights. You get the point. And as a result of me going against your right, your constitutional right, I proceeded by even assaulting you. So it comes under the umbrella of violence. Now, when you go to police, after giving them the history of what happened, what you usually do is, of course, write the statement, and to some extent, they usually ask you what happened as they are writing. That's what happens.
So for a person who has reported such a case, what is the penalty? What are the charges that they put on such a person?
Now, usually charges come at the discretion of court. Just as I was explaining, when you explain to the policeman or policewoman, your statement is recorded. After being recorded, the CID takes the file to the resident state attorney, to the office of the resident state attorney, yes, and director of public prosecution. So when the file is taken there, so from there, they get a particular state attorney to handle the file. But usually what we call the RSA, resident state attorney, is the head of those people, the state attorney is there. So it's the resident state attorney who first has to peruse the file. You get the point. So after perusing the file, he or she will allocate the file to the particular state attorney, the one who will now go and handle it in court. Now, a situation like this one is different from civil procedures. Now, when it's given to a state attorney, it means it's now the state attorney who's going to handle that case on your behalf, the complainant. That's why you find that they usually write there Uganda versus maybe Okello Joshua. If I was the one who assaulted you, they don't put Anyait Jamila versus Okello Joshua. They usually put Uganda. Now, the reason that's why they put Uganda, it's because it is a state attorney who is now acting as your lawyer from there. So the state attorney will defend you against the other one. The name state, of course, means the government. That's why they're called state attorneys. But they're also lawyers. However, they're meant to handle the criminal matters. You get the point. So, when the file is allocated to him or her, from there, it is, of course, taken to the side of the magistrate or the judge, for example. So when it's taken there, there's what we call plea taking. So when it's taken there, you're meant to appear. They tell you, now this matter is coming on such and such a date. That's when you appear for the first time. After appearing for the first time, the magistrate will read for you the charge. Then they will ask you that you admit this or not. Are you guilty or not guilty? You get the point? So if you say, it is upon you to say whether you're guilty or not guilty. So that particular stage is called plea taking. You get the point? So after it's confirmed, then the next stage now comes. You get the point?
Which is that stage now?
Of course, this next stage is the hearing of the case. That's what comes next.
So I wanted to find out how does court take those people who commit the assaults?
How does court take them?
Yeah, like the hearing.
Okay. Well, what usually happens is, first of all, what we must understand is an assault is an offense. When you read the Penal Code Act Cap 120 of Uganda, it states very well that an assault is legal. It is legal. Then also, when you read the 1995 Constitution of Uganda,
Yes.
it also states very well that an assault is legal. You get the point. Now, depending on the assault that you've caused, but usually there is punishment for such offenses. Now, in criminal law, someone is always innocent until proven guilty. So if you're proven guilty, that's when now the court will be at liberty to give you punishment. For example, they can say now you're going for maybe imprisonment for this period of time.
So that can come in among the penalties one can be charged?
Yes, that's why usually it comes at the discretion of court. Yes, like if I'd stoned you with a chair, just as I explained a few minutes ago, the magistrate or the judge, for example, will peruse the file, understand the gist of the matter. So it's upon understanding the gist of the matter that she can know the exact punishment to give the accused. You get the point? Yeah. But usually punishments are there for anything pertaining an assault. Yeah, that's what happens. So when you're, of course, now when they've read for you the punishment, you go and of course serve the sentence. They can say now you're going for 2 years, you're going for 3 years. But always when someone is taken there, like when the file is pushed from the from police, state attorney, then to the magistrate, of course, they don't rush to sentence you. You first go for what we call remand.
Okay.
It's upon going for remand that you'll now appear for what I said a few minutes ago. That's when now they will read for you, probably maybe the charges, and ask you whether you're guilty or not guilty. Then after you answering, the next stage comes.
And I also wanted to find out why do some victims of assault fear reporting the cases to police?
Why do they fear? What causes the fear is what we call ignorance of the law. You get the point. For example, I'm giving an example. I can want you to be my wife. Then when I make an inquiry, if I ask maybe someone that, how is that lady? The person tells me, that lady is not good. You see, she has been working in the radio station. And you know, in radio stations, there are so many callers. Men always make phone calls, and so you shouldn't trust her because there are so many calls that she gets. So by virtue of her getting multiple number of calls means she's not a good woman. You get? So it's already that statement already creates what we call phobia in me. It creates what we call psychological torture. It makes me think it is true. You get the point? Yet in reality, it's not true. It depends on someone's character and personality. So ignorance of the law is usually termed as a disease. You've heard people saying ignorance of the law is a disease. It's cause of such scenarios. But in reality, you find that it is your constitutional right. When you go to police, the police are mandated to keep law and order. That's what the police are meant to do. When a crime is committed, they are the ones to show us the right way as far as the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda is concerned. But then people tend to have that fear. Or maybe when I go there, they will put me inside. So it is that psychological, I would say it's that phobia in them that creates that. But in reality, you find that there is nothing wrong. It's always good to understand the law. The law protects you from any situation.
Okay, and how does the law protect these victims of assault?
How does the law protect these victims of assault? First of all, one, when you go to police, just as I said, the law will eventually protect your rights from there. But when you're being assaulted and you just keep quiet, they will not know what has happened to you. That's why there's a saying in English that silence means a lot. When you're quiet, it means a lot. I don't know what is inside you. I don't know what happened unless you speak it out. So the law protects them when they've spoken it out, when they've followed the rule of procedure. And the first stage that you have to do when it comes to a situation like an assault or a criminal matter is by you going to police. Report the case there, the police write it. After writing it, they send it to the resident state attorney, under Director of Public Prosecution. From there, they push the file to the magistrate. However, there is also another route that someone can decide to take that so many Ugandans do not understand. It is a few people who know the law understand. There's what we call private prosecution. Private prosecution is when you can like a concerned citizen can come in. For instance, like if something wrong happens to you, like let's say an assault, I can decide to come in as an ardent believer of rule of law, as a concerned citizen who has been closely following the rule of law, as a person who's against illegalities that violates the rights of a human being. So I can decide to come in and say, my friend Jamila was assaulted last time, and I see she hasn't even taken any step towards that. Besides, even her other people in that happening place were also assaulted. And this matter is affecting the entire public. It will even make other people fear to go to that place, and yet that has been a very convenient place for people to have what we call love for adventure. So in a situation like that one, I can come in as a concerned citizen. That is now under Article 50, Clause 1 and 2 of the 1995 Constitution and the Human Rights Enforcement Act of 2019. I can decide to do that and maybe do what we call, I can maybe write just an ordinary letter to the magistrate and explain to the magistrate. I tell the magistrate, Your Worship, this is Okello Joshua, a resident of Kamswahili, cell A6. I'm addressing this issue to you as a concerned citizen, as an ardent believer of rule of law, as someone who watched what happened to so and so. However, on such and such a date, I was seated with that particular person and ABCD happened to her. So since she's ignorant of the law, I have decided rather to do this or to take a legal step under public interest litigation and under private prosecution against the person who assaulted her. So, Your Honor, I kindly request you take an investigation towards this matter so that Jamila Anyait gets justice, because justice must prevail. So I write that letter. Then also at the back of that letter, I have to attach what is called an affidavit. I have to make oath to give the facts of the chronology of the history of that assault or that violence that was created against you. So when I do that, a magistrate now takes from there. Upon taking up from there, she will then attach that particular matter maybe to a state attorney. You get the point? Then they do the investigation on their own. And she will also be at liberty to issue what we call criminal summons. So when the criminal summons are issued, the accused can be summoned, and on the other hand, maybe even an arrest warrant can be issued if the accused refuses to come to court. Arrest warrant can be issued if he or she was summoned and refused to come. So after the arrest warrant being issued, they bring the accused to court and maybe even take the accused to prison. That one happens under private prosecution.
All right. Thank you so much for that educative message, and I guess they have watched. And I wanted to ask you, what role can families also play in preventing violence?
Well, that's a very good question. In fact, you've asked what I've been thinking about. Just today I was thinking about that. I have a friend of mine called Captain Morgan. He was actually asking me the same question, and I think it's just God's
coincidence.
It's a coincidence. I was sitting with Morgan, then there's one I called Otim Elvis. So we're having an interaction about that, and I explained the same thing. Actually, what I told them is that in such situations, always it is not good to go beyond the limits of the law. There is always a saying that no one is above the law. Like in families, for example, we the men, this is my strong advice to you. When your wife provokes you, please don't use emotions for handling the situations. You know, when you allow your actions to go higher than your emotions to go higher than your thoughts always, you'll eventually fail to reason. And by virtue of you failing to reason means that you're most likely to cause violence or to assault your wife. So in such situations always, when one partner maybe provokes the other, the best you can do is to calm down, don't use your hands, don't use any weapon for hurting the other one just because you are annoyed.
But there are some people who are so provocative. So what would you do in such a case?
A situation like that one, however much you're provoked always, of course you keep quiet. Then you wait till when the other one's emotions have gone down and you say, now you see, sweetheart, I was not happy with the way you did the other time. And you see, I really love you, but the way you do things at times doesn't please me. Just imagine how you feel to beat me. You go to prison, and next, when you're there, you remember how good I am. You get the point. When we're in your house, you remember how things move on very well from there. So the best, of course, is, hot water cannot cool hot water. It is cold water that can cool hot water. You get the point?
Yes.
That is what happens always. It's like let's say when you're walking, you cannot walk with one leg. At least one has to move together with the other.
Yes.
That's what happens. So situations like that one, both of you should not become emotional.
Okay, and I would like to find out, what advice can you give to the young people?
So I was still speaking about this.
Okay.
Now, because there's someone again saying that, I think you had even said that, but I forgot to answer that. That there is you becoming, there's the other one going emotional, and for you remain calm, but at the end of the day, still the other one continues provoking you. Now, a situation like that one, there are institutions that usually handle family matters. Even at the police, there's a department that handles that. There are institutions like sections like probation department. You can go there if it goes beyond your limit. You go there, then now in that stage, you find that it's now the law that handles that person who was trying maybe to violate your rights, the person who was trying to disrespect you. So that is where you go to if it's beyond your limit. Then now it's the law to handle that person. Yes. So you can ask me the next question.
I wanted to find out what advice you'd give to the young people to avoid them from getting involved in violence.
Now, the young people outside there, especially the youth, my strong advice is, first of all, try to avoid drugs. You see, Jamila, when you go to town talks right now, you'll find that there are so many street kids there. And a majority are taking opium, majority are taking weed, majority are taking tina. I was even shocked to hear that these days people even take gray hair. I hear even past Palam, they smoke that. So it really beat my understanding. Others take cocaine, others take that one which is like powder. Yes. So it misleads. You know, when you get addicted to that, it makes you do what you as a normal person cannot do, and also what you don't know. Then now when you get back to your senses, that's why you find that when you're taken to police after like 2 days, someone starts apologizing, and so that situation takes you to a different stage. You start apologizing because you've now come back to your senses. You've known that what you did was wrong, and you start apologizing. So my advice is avoid taking drugs. Then also, let's learn how to have respect towards each other. Let's learn how to control emotions. Everyone gets emotional, but the question is, how do you control? Because if you fail to learn how to control, you end up falling into a big hole. You end up falling into trouble. There are people who have always killed partners. There are youth that have always killed friends. It's a result of that. So learn how to control, because if you learn how to control, you can manage to live in this world. You see, we're in a crazy world. This earth is not like heaven. From there, I've never been there. I follow the hearsay, but of course, according to what I've researched,
And according to the Bible.
according
I guess you're Christian and
that's why I have that name Joshua.
okay.
Yeah, because it's through Christianity that you get it. So, according to the Bible, I'm told when you go to heaven, what happens there is just
Eternal life.
it's
There's enjoyment,
eternal life and just an infinite enjoyment. It's what happens from there. Unlike on earth here, where you find that today we are here, tomorrow again, you wake up and find unavoidable circumstance has come across that you can't bypass. The only thing you have to do is maybe to harmonize the situation and all that.
Okay, and then maybe lastly, what should the government do to reduce the assault cases? What role does government have to play to see they reduce the cases of
Now, first of all, the major thing that I want the government to do is to promote civic education, and also to liaise with institutions or organizations that do that. There are NGOs that do that, more so when it comes to issues of women, like FIDA Uganda. So the government should support that. Then there are other institutions, also NGOs, that promote civic education. So the government should support them. Let the government empower them with the funds. You get the point? So that they can move to villages, sensitize people. We need sensitization in such scenarios in order to reduce the level of violence or assault in our country. So that is my humble request to the government. Yes.
Okay. Any last message that you have concerning violence and assault to the viewers?
Now, my last message is listeners outside there, especially those ones who are going to watch this interview after. My request is, please, when someone assaults you, when someone promotes violence in the community, don't use emotions for doing the same thing to that particular person. We have responsible institutions that are meant to do that, and the main one and the architect and the headquarters of where everyone is supposed to go is police. So if your rights are being violated, if you're being assaulted, please go to the police, make a report there. Don't say, now this one stoned me, let me also get a stone and stone back. This one stabbed my brother, let me also get a knife. At least I know the time usually comes to such and such a place, I will also stab him or her. Don't do that. Just as I said a few minutes ago, that hot water cannot cool hot water. The best you can do is follow the law. When your rights are violated, follow the law. When you follow the law, you will move in the right direction. So that is my advice.
All right. Thank you so much, Council Joshua, for your advice. Maybe a last message to the viewers as we wind up.
Okay, thank you so much, viewers there. I'm so happy that you people have come to get actually this good message from me, and this same message is going to be watched by the viewers there. So viewers there, please, I'm happy that most of you, okay, I know you, some of you haven't watched, but I know a majority are going to watch this message. So please give it your time so that you can understand the basics and also the meaning of violence and assault. If you understand that, this will help you. What you've not been knowing, at least as a result of you watching this, will make you know and understand what to do better as far as the law is concerned. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you so much for watching Tessolens. Of course, my name is Amila, and that is a message we had from a councillor, Joshua Patrick Okello. And for now, please don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share, and keep following us on our social media platforms. You can get us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. All the media platforms, we are there. See you next time. Bye-bye.